I know it's so wonderful to be together, isn't it, and to be able to connect. But we do want to get started. We do have also a equally large crowd, if not bigger, online. So I want to be sure that we are trying to respect everybody's time. So good afternoon and welcome to the 697th meeting of the Economic Club of New York. I'm Barbara Van, President and CEO of the club. The Economic Club has been recognized for some time as the nation's leading nonpartisan forum for discussions on social, political, and economic issues. And we've had more than 1,000 prominent guests appear before the club over the last century. So we have a strong tradition of excellence, which continues obviously up to today. I want to extend a warm welcome to students from Mercy College, CUNY, Columbia Business School, and the Gabelli School of Business at Fordham, who are joining us virtually today, as well as we have a couple members of our largest ever class of 2023 fellows, a select group of diverse, rising, next-gen business thought leaders. This year, we actually have 71. I'm honored to be able to welcome our special guest, Nicolas Hieronimus, a graduate from one of France's top business schools, ESSEC. Nicolas joined L'Oréal in 1987 as product manager, as marketing director for the laboratories Garnier in 1993. He successfully created the Fictus, I'm getting that wrong, I'm sure. Apologies. I took Latin, not French, hair care range. And in 1998, he became general manager of the Garnier labeling division in the UK. In 2000, he was named general manager of Paris, France, and then international general manager for L'Oréal Paris, which he repositioned as the accessible luxury brand. Nicolas developed skincare with the creation of dermal expertise, style expertise, and men expert. In 2005, he became general manager of L'Oréal Mexico, and in 2008, general manager of L'Oréal's professional products division. Followed by being appointed president of L'Oréal Luxe in 2011. So we held a very undisputed time. And in 2021, she was appointed as CEO of L'Oréal, as well as a member of the board of directors. The format today will be a conversation. We're delighted to have Club Emeritus Chair Marie-Josée Kravis, who is currently serving as chair of the Museum of Modern Art during the honors of moderating. As a reminder, this conversation is on record. We do actually a fair amount of media on the line and actually in the room. So, Marie-Josée, if you're ready, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you so much for being here. And
good to see you.
Nice to see you. And you announced your results just a few days ago. Well, I'd say a week and a half ago. And again, it was a grand slam. It was double-digit growth in every product category: cosmetics, beauty, hair care, skincare, and fragrances, and across most geographic zones. I wonder if you might comment on the resilience of L'Oréal, given this very turbulent world, both politically and economically.
It's true the world is very turbulent, but it's true also that beauty as a category is pretty unique. It's one of these categories that has been growing since the dawn of humanity. It's an essential human need, and even in times of difficulties, and even today, when you hear about inflation, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about this, we see the beauty market continue to thrive. So I think it's a great industry to be in. As we mentioned, I've been in this industry for 37 years now, so I know inside out, and I know now as the leader of this company, which is indeed, I think, a company that is uniquely positioned to thrive in moments of difficulty, of high turbulence, because of strategically centralized, which centralized operationally, which allows anyone in the world to adapt to the conditions of the market, to make their own investments, and to choose the battles they want to fight. And we have this incredible agility that has allowed us to to adapt to transform. We are a company that's constantly transforming, becoming a digital champion now, investing into beauty tech, where AI is probably going to help us increase our productivity and the creativity of our researchers, but also transform our own organizations and ways of working in a time when people have changed their relationship to work and to companies. Probably another topic we may want to discuss. But overall, it's true that to go back to the results, we published plus 18.5% growth and plus 10.9 in comparable. So it's 3.5 billion more in actual comparable gain. So 38.6 billion euro company. All our divisions, all our categories, and all our regions feed the markets, which is what we're really into doing. I'm spending the week here with the American teams, and we're just working on how we are going to do it in 23 and we're preparing 24 because innovations have to be anticipated. So it's a good thing that we're a competitive bunch of people and we like to win. So we try to do it again next year, hopefully.
Excuse me, you have 36 brands and you cover a range. I mean, it's Maybelline and Estee and Essie and Kiehl's and Marie-Josée Kravis and Valentino and sort of
stars.
But in terms of reacting to inflation, reacting to macroeconomic trends, these brands must be reacting differently, no?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, I think it's I'll tell you why we have so many brands. We have 36 global brands. Most of them have been acquired across the history of L'Oréal. It's because if beauty is an essential need, it's also very different between individuals. More today than ever, and the world is getting more fragmented. People have their own understanding of beauty. They want to express their individuality, their personality with beauty. And each of our brands taps into a different cultural approach to beauty. Beauty is very cultural. Beauty in India and America and in Mexico are very different. They tap into different representations of beauty and also in different price points. In our 36 brands, we have brands that start at $5 and others that sell $400 creams. We're also addressing different types of consumers. So my job as a CEO and when I was president of the division, first of all, is to make sure that each of these brands maintains a unique personality. The danger is that everybody's trying to look like each other, and I'm making sure that each brand has a stream, like a rail where it has to stay. And sometimes, it's not that easy to make the Armani beauty different from the Yves Saint Laurent beauty, but we managed to do it. And that's the way we satisfy all consumers around the globe. And clearly, as it relates to inflation, first of all brands are not impacted the same way, depending on, whether they sell shampoos or creams or makeup. The impact of cost of goods inflation will not be the same on each category. Then the pricing power is also different depending on the distribution channel. If you're a very selective brand or a mass market brand, you have more or less pricing power. But thanks to innovation, because that's the commonality across all brands, they have a different personality, but they all thrive on innovation. So every year we come up, and that's what we're preparing the 2024 plan this week. Every year our brands launch strong, different new products. And this is where we have the highest pricing power, because when it's new, consumers are not, willing to pay for the new thing. So we've been managing to offset part of our input cost increases and deliver a nice 40 basis points margin increase on this year.
But don't you find that consumers tend sometimes to move down market?
Well, actually,
or is that not happening?
Well, there are always a moment of phenomenon. You can always find a moment where somebody is going to space out their visits to the stylist or go to a cheaper brand. But the overall trend is absolutely the opposite. Beauty is valorizing. It's premiumizing all around the world. People are spending more on better products because beauty is this category that is both a need, but also an indulgence. And when people, are going to make savings, maybe they'll stop buying the new iPhone or they'll postpone the purchase of a car. These are pretty expensive items. Whereas, even a $25 beautiful lipstick is not such a big cost, and the price difference between the good quality and the average one is not so big. So in reality, the prices are going up, and it's driven by the development of middle classes everywhere around the world, particularly in emerging markets or in China. And we see the average price of our products going up. And even if we look today, I mean, we were revising the numbers with David Greenberg, the CEO of L'Oréal USA. Today, we see in these times where there is undoubtedly there is inflation, and there's inflation in the USA, and the market is very dynamic, and it's very dynamic. And what's interesting is that it's driven by the younger generation, which you could argue have less money, or maybe they're staying home with their parents, but they probably, because the morale is a bit low, they need a bit more, fragrance and lipsticks and pleasure. But the market is very dynamic. So, and it's our duty, our role as a leader, to constantly bring new products to that market, to make sure that it's always tempting to try and buy this product. So we do not see any down trading. We see, on the contrary, up trading. And just one point to illustrate that. When I started at L'Oréal 37 years ago, by far the number one division of L'Oréal was the mass market division. Last year, the number one, two years ago, the number one division in value, in units it remained the mass market, but in value it became the luxury division. And we have these two big divisions that are of equal size. And that's a sign that people want the best, and the best is hopefully as much as possible within L'Oréal.
So you mentioned brand integrity, brand identity, and so on. So how is it that you juggle maintaining the DNA of these 36 brands, but at the same time creating a very strong corporate culture?
Well, first of all, each brand, when we acquire a brand, it starts because, as I said, most of the brands that L'Oréal is managing have been acquisitions. We created three of our brands, which are L'Oréal Professional, and L'Oréal Paris, and Kérastase. All the others have been acquired across the years. And every time we acquire a brand, it's always based on complementarity. So we try to find a personality that we do not have. I would say the last acquisition, the one before last acquisition we made in the USA, I'm flying to LA in a couple of hours. It's a brand called Used to the People. Californian, vegan, very Gen Z brand. And frankly, we had nothing like it. So we acquired that brand precisely because it's a brand that is different. Then some of these brands have been built against L'Oréal, saying, "Oh, we're not like L'Oréal. We are talking to these different generations." And so we treasure that. So when we make an acquisition of a brand like this, from the get-go, we define what this DNA is, what is this personality, and we make sure all along that we protect it. And that's the role of the brand presidents. That's their number one mission. And sometimes we have brands where we work with either founders that are still with us, or with artistic directors, or, when you have license I was talking about Armani or Saint Laurent, of course, then we work with the couture house, and they make sure that we stay in their DNA, which is very helpful. So it's super important. But as you rightfully say, despite all this, and I think it's an important part of our success, it's probably the most intangible but strongest part of this L'Oréal success is our corporate culture. We have a very unique culture. I was, telling the teams yesterday, I've been 37 years in this company. I'm still not sure I'm able to describe it. It's a blend of passion for the industry, but passion in general, of hyper engagement, which is like very important in today's world, where you hear about great resignation and quiet quitting, and we have loud engagement rather than quiet quitting. You have people that are very entrepreneurial and are groomed to be entrepreneurial. They are not waiting to be told what to do, and sometimes we have to calm them down a little bit to stay within the rails, the guardrails that we were talking about earlier. It's a very diverse company, and people, have 37 years for me, but if you ask all the L'Oréalians in the room, most of them have been several decades in the company. So there is this strong passion, and there is L'Oréal was created by a chemist. So the core, the roots of the company is scientific, and that's why we spend over 1 billion euro every year in research, 3% of our business, to come up with these innovations I was talking about. But next to science, you have to complement science with flair. And that's what I think is I love about L'Oréal, is that we have this unique combination of very strong scientific background and credentials. And the meeting I was having before coming to you was, we had 1 hour on the secrets and the structure of curly and coily hair. And with scientists explaining to us why, when weight was growing, it was more, he had more breakage, and it was fascinating. And so that's L'Oréal. And at the same time, you've got these crazy marketeers with a lot of flair and that are really inclined to be creative, and I'm hoping to be shocked as much as possible. And this blend between science and flair is also part of the L'Oréal culture. So put all this together, you stir, and you've got a 38.6 billion euro company.
Well, you've often referred to the fact that you're a 114-year-old company. You're a dinosaur in a way, but you're a unicorn at the same time.
Yes,
So I think you talk about Unicorn Rex.
Yes, exactly. That's my creative part.
There.
I created the Unicornus Rex, which is it's a fun animal, because it's good to be a powerful dinosaur with lots of scale, with money, resource, 87,000 employees and big, powerful brands. But we know what happened to dinosaurs. So we thought that the unicorn, extra, agility, capacity to innovate was very important. So that's who we are.
And how did the pandemic affect you or change that? We'll talk about the consumer, but I'd like to talk later about also the workforce. But in terms of the consumer buying patterns changed, the distribution changed. How is that? Is that falling back into place, or has that
it's true that it was a major disruptor in areas where, by the way, we didn't always expect it to be. And I think for me, the biggest disruptor of COVID, but we'll get back to that in the second part of your question, was on the relationship to work, to the office work. But as far as consumption is concerned, it accelerated a few trends that were pre-existing. Clearly, the quest for healthy products, healthy, safe products. That's why we have these wonderful brands like CeraVe and La Roche-Posay that are just flying off the shelves because they're prescribed by derms. They are super safe in terms of the composition is very limited and very transparent. So that was already there, and clearly this big, pandemic and put health even more at the core of consumers' behavior. So that really accelerated that trend. Sustainability was also accelerated by the quest for sustainability, even though it does not yet translate in every consumer's behavior. But people saw blue skies with factories or cars being stopped, and there's even a greater concern about sustainability. Clearly, digital, and that's probably what helped us, increase our gap with competition, is that we were ready. We had become a digital-first company before stores were closed by COVID, and the internet penetration acceleration during that period was huge. And that, of course, last year, 22 was a bit of a brick and mortar bounce back, but overall, the people's habit have changed in terms of their relationship to shopping, which is now much more online plus offline. We say O plus O, and tomorrow we say O plus O plus O plus on-chain. That will be the metaverse version of shopping, which is probably still a bit further away. So these are the main changes. And in terms of consumption habit, there were also a few unexpected changes. Of course, makeup was deeply affected because you didn't go out, and when you went out, you were wearing a mask.
Right.
At least lipstick was terribly affected. Mascaras were okay, that you always can fall back on your feet. We had great Sky High Maybelline mascara for those who need it. This is the product placement moment, which I recommend. So this is what's expected, but there were two categories that came out of the pandemic much stronger than we thought. One was fragrance. Fragrance really is booming since the pandemic. It accelerated in China. It was already pre-existing, and the Chinese consumers are discovering fragrance and enjoying it. But in the Western world, fragrance, which was, and particularly in America, more of this, Friday night, Saturday night thing, and that you were not wearing every day, and the penetration was actually not growing anymore. It's been booming since then. The number of people who wear fragrance every day has increased. And it's because the pandemic has generated this desire to pamper yourself, to feel good. And a good fragrance is a feel good moment. It smells good, makes you feel good. And on top of feeling more seductive, maybe, but it's really made that, it's really an important change. And we see it in the USA, in Western Europe. And the other one is hair care, probably for the same reason. First of all, that was the only part that was shown on your Zoom or Teams when you were in confinement wearing a mask. But again, here you have this pampering moment where you say, okay, I'm gonna take care of myself. So it's good for beauty overall. That's why the beauty market is very positive. So lots of changes. But I would say most of them went in the right direction, or at least in the right direction for L'Oréal, because we were really ready. And as far as health, which was the first trend that I mentioned, we have this L'Oréal Dermatological Beauty division, which is by far the number one fastest growing division on that segment of the market.
And any trends that went in the wrong direction?
Well, the only one that went on the wrong direction was really making work, and it has some benefits. We know in the USA people have a very long commuting, for example. So allowing people to work some days from home, I think, was a necessary move. And from the get-go, when confinements were over in Europe or North America, we adopted a 3-2 policy. So 3 days minimum in the office and 2 days possible from home. I would say it's mainly respected. A few are cheating a little bit. So we have to regularly remind people that it's important to come back, because I deeply believe that whether it's for creativity, serendipity, and to nurture that culture I was talking about, you have to be together. We're young, also we have young crowds, and they don't all have huge houses in Connecticut, so some are happy to come back. But that's very important to maintain. But overall it's working. We are transforming our offices clearly, because having an office which is just a desk with a computer screen makes no sense, because then what's the difference with being home? So we are transforming all our offices with more gathering areas, social areas, creative parts, of course, places where you can isolate. But I would say the offices that I'm going to, I've saw the project that I'm going to visit for the first time are L'Oréal West offices near El Segundo in California. I wouldn't have dreamt of such an office when I started at L'Oréal. So we're transforming the offices because people work differently, but mainly it does work, even though it regularly needs a little reminder.
And you mentioned at the outset that you had no problem recruiting, which is not the case of many American corporations, and I think European also.
Oh, we have we've proudly ranked number 5 in the top in the universe's most attractive companies to business students. So we have to work a bit harder on engineers, but that's okay. We are initially a marketing company, but we have our scientists. So we have a huge number. We had 1.3 million job applications in 2022. It's increasing. Our turnover rate remains at normal level for our industry and below last year's. And the only area where we had trouble finding people is, like everybody is in the world of digital, and more particularly data. This is the new discipline. So everybody wants data analysts, data scientists, data architects. I still haven't figured out which was which, but that's more a challenge. But the good thing, or I don't know if it's a good thing, but at least the opportunity, if I may put it like this, is that many of the tech companies are freeing some of their tech talents. So we probably will have more available to grow our business. But it's a great, L'Oréal is a great company for tech talents because they are not working on one silo project. It's a global company transformation. So it's very exciting to do that job.
And you talked very much about future fit, and you talked about the metaverse, and maybe you could expand on that. How does beauty live in the metaverse?
Well, we know we just signed a deal with a startup called Ready Player Me that creates avatars and gears for avatars that can be used across several platforms. So we made a partnership with them with two of our brands, L'Oréal Professional for hair and Maybelline for makeup. So you can choose your avatars. Makeup, hair shape, etc. And these two categories have entered instantly in the top 20 downloads of the platform. So it shows that people not only want to have great looks in the metaverse, but they also know and want to change often. Because you and I know that if you want to go platinum blonde tomorrow, we won't be able to go back to the way we look today. Well, that's something you can do in the metaverse. And many of these players are changing their avatars looks every day. So I think today it's a great way to engage with our brands. It's not a business model yet, but it's a great way to engage with our brands. And it's a great way also to foster, to use creativity. We are, with one of our brands, NYX Professional Makeup, we created this decentralized autonomous organization where we invite digital creators to come and develop digital makeup, virtual makeup, which is absolutely right now impossible to replicate in the real world. But in the ideas they come with, there's like an immense creativity which is provided by this technology, and it will definitely inspire our own teams to bring some of it in the real world, and maybe probably one day we'll also be selling looks and lipsticks in the metaverse. We just have to make sure that they can identify the difference between the L'Oréal quality and the average quality, which is what we do in the real life. And it's harder to do in the metaverse, but we're working on it.
And it's probably more makeup than it is care, because I mean, it's one thing to have an anti-aging cream.
You can imagine anything, I don't know if you're a gamer, but when you play a game, at some point you can purchase things that are giving you life points back. Well, you could get youth points back. If your character is aging a bit, you find this great L'Oréal potion, and maybe you look even younger. So that's the great thing. It has to be written. It has to be invented, and we'll see. You're right. It's easier with things that are obviously visible, but I'm pretty sure we'll come up with something.
And hopefully it'll transform into the real world.
Hopefully. We're working on it every day. Our scientists are doing it.
You mentioned also sustainability, and I'm wondering how is sustainability compatible with beauty for all?
Well, it is. First of all, it is a duty of the leader. We all live on the same planet, and you can't have the objective can't be to make people more beautiful and make the planet more ugly. And that's why we defined that sense of purpose, which is to create the beauty that moves the world. And in moving the world, there are many aspects: inclusivity, of course, sharing the profits and success of the company with our employees. But there's also clearly the sustainability part, which we started working on. We had our first program, Sharing Beauty with All, which started in 2005. With a number of commitments that were most hit. So one of the ones we're proud of is that we reduced our CO2 emissions since that time by, I think, 90% when increasing our units by 37. So we could decouple growth from CO2 emissions, but that was just the beginning. Today, we are every new product that comes out has to show improvements on sustainability. We are reducing our plastic intensity. 2/3 of our PET plastics is already recycled, and we're struggling to get as much as we need on the other types of plastic because there's not enough supply. We are transforming our formulas. Our R&D is entirely focused on what we call green sciences, which is basically coming out of petrochemicals ingredients and having ingredients that comes from biotechs. We have already several formulas that use this technology. So it's we still have a lot to do, and the more we are thriving to get to net zero, the harder it is, and we know that the last mile will be the toughest. But we have the resources, and we have a company that's again going back to the culture that's entirely focused on this. We have, of course, a chief sustainability officer who's making sure that nobody forgets about this. But every single marketeer, a research person, guy that does the point of sale material for stores, everybody's focusing on trying to make it more sustainable. So if we have an industry that is both more sustainable, but also that provides resources to unfavored communities. We have big solidarity sourcing programs that we have like 85,000 people that work for underprivileged communities that have access to resources thanks to this thing. So all in all, there is a bit of a 360 degrees action plan to make sure that we indeed create the beauty that moves the world. It's not easy, but we are really passionate about it and determined.
Well, you're clearly an optimist, and you clearly project positive energy. What keeps you up at night?
I don't want to tell you. There's too many people, journalists, people. In the end, I think the only thing that is not keeping me up at night, but that the most important part of our success and of the company's ability to thrive across another century is innovation, is our capacity to innovate. This is an offer-driven market, as we explained in the beginning. So if we stop innovating, we will not be continuing to thrive. So our investment in innovation, the investment we put in tech to enhance innovation. Somebody was asking me about the impacts of generative AI, and clearly AI is going to be a tremendous, and is already a tremendous booster for our researchers. Before they were creating formulas because they were great chemists and biologists, and now they still are great chemists and biologists, but they get augmented by AI, and we have examples where we have to reformulate hair color products, which is very difficult because every shade is different, where you have to remove one ingredient, which is going to be eliminated by some regulations at some point. Doing it on your own was difficult. The combination of the researcher and AI is super powerful. So we have innovation is really the core of our engine, but what allows me to fall asleep is that not only do we have great teams and putting the money behind them, but we're seeing that the new technologies are really enhancing the human capacity to innovate, and that's great for L'Oréal because we've been investing in this for a couple of years now. So I guess I will be able to sleep even though there are many things that can always worry you in a world like of course, clearly, and that's what I wanted to tell you. In a world like this, you have every day you have crisis, you have wars, you have climatic disasters that can affect your teams, and that's when you're accountable for 87,000 people. There's always somewhere in the world where something really bad happens. So that's the one thing, you want to make sure, first of all, your teams are okay, then they can provide the support they need, and hopefully do what you can at your own level. We're not a state, but we're trying to influence or to help whenever we can. So that's, the geopolitical state of the world is very worrying. But to go back to what gives me, because I'm an optimist, a confidence for L'Oréal in this world, is that precisely as the world gets more fragmented, I think we are more fit in our organization. We are multiple ourselves by design, and I think we are therefore more fit for this world than many companies. And so it's tougher out there, but when it gets tough, L'Oréal gets going.
Tough, get going. So you've slept well. You get up in the morning. What's your beauty routine?
That I'm not sure I have time. I'm a big user of products. I can tell you what I used this morning. I use, of course, shampoos, shower gels, probably two skincare products, plus a UV filter. Very important. Never get out with a daily UV screen. Unfortunately, the best formulas are not all allowed in the USA, but it's okay. That's part of the influence we have to work on. Fragrance, of course. We have lots of good fragrance. YSLY, second product placement of the conversation. No, we have a kind of a joke with my wife about who's got the largest number of products, and I think I win. I think I win because I try, of course, all the products of L'Oréal, but also a little insider trick. Whenever I travel, this is what I do here, I ask the local team to put in my bedroom the best competitors' products that have been launched and they think are interesting. Because before they would only put my own products in the room,
that you know,
which frankly I knew. And but it's very interesting because you discover, I mean, obviously we are leaders, but we only have 14 to 15% of the world's share. So we still have room to grow, and seeing what other guys are doing is very, very important. So I regularly try products that are for some interesting, some future acquisitions, and some that really are not worth it. But that's very useful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being so candid and sharing with us your views on the future.
It was my pleasure, and I'll discover my beautiful offices in LA in a couple of hours. So thank
Wonderful.
you for having
Have a
me.
safe trip.
Thank you.
Many thanks to you both. That was just terrific. I have to say, I went over to the L'Oreal's offices over in Hudson Yards, and it was amazing on the elevator. Every floor was a different product, and it was so crowded with people coming in and out. It was exciting.
It's because I was coming. Maybe they were preparing the visit.
Yes, maybe. So I wanted to just make a special note that this evening we have our One Member, One Candidate campaign event at 6 p.m. this evening. So any members that wanted to bring a potential candidate for the club, we'll be having it here at 6 this evening. And this is a complimentary reception. So keep it in mind if your day's not already complete. Next up, in terms of events, we have a luncheon with Jen Easterly, who is the Director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security at March 23rd. Robin Hayes, the President and CEO of JetBlue, will join us on March the 29th. We have our annual Women in Business Conference, which we do together with the Council Generals of France and Canada on April 4th. So please stay tuned for our confirmed speakers for that. And we just added, actually yesterday, a luncheon on April 11th with General David Berger, serving as the 38th Commandant of the U.S. Marine Corps and a candidate for General Milley's job, according to news reports. On April 13th, we have a webinar with Dr. Ella Washington, who is an organizational psychologist and professor at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business, who will give us some insights on inclusive leadership and the evolution of today's workplace cultures. And then finally, well, actually not finally, we do have a luncheon discussion with club member and board member Lee Ainsley, founder and managing partner of Maverick Capital, on April the 13th. And then finally, we just confirmed today John Williams, the head of the New York Fed and our current chair, on May the 9th for an in-person signature luncheon. And then finally, as we always do, I want to recognize those of our 361 members of the Centennial Society that joined us today. Thank you for your contributions, which continue to be the financial backbone of support for the club and its programming. Thank you to everyone that attended virtually. And for those of you in the room, please enjoy your lunch. We look forward to seeing everyone again soon. Thank you.